Good evening, Drew.
Hello, Paul. How are we?
Oh, how are you? How are you?
I'm okay. I'm
Okay,
okay. How are you?
good. I'm great. I'm great.
Yeah. Why are you great?
Uh,
What's great?
I don't know. I'm just, I'm sucking air past my teeth.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man, do you ever have like one of those weeks that just like a truck like hits you on Tuesday and you blink and it's Thursday night?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, man, it has just been a heck of a week for me.
I'm sorry to
But
hear that.
Yeah, but I don't want to complain because I'll complain later in the show about things that
Okay,
I had to do this week. I think
okay.
I think the big news for us this week is, man, Apple hit us with both barrels this week, huh?
Yeah, yeah. They released some things.
Okay,
Uh,
well,
I mean,
I'm very excited for these new colorful Macs.
d- d- I wish I had a need for an iMac in my life because I think these new iMacs are they're just so sexy. They're just dripping with just hot. Mm, mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so for those of you that don't sort of travel in the same circles as Paul and I, so this week Apple had an event, and there were some really good announcements this week. So it's interesting because if you've been paying attention to what Apple does, a while ago they sort of unceremoniously killed the iMac Pro,
Yeah.
which was a really nice piece of hardware. It was expensive and it was an all-in-one. And to your point, yeah, I use a laptop every day.
Yeah.
In the before times when we could all travel, I need a laptop. But if this pandemic has taught me anything, it's that I don't need to travel anywhere for my job, and I
Right.
would sort of be okay with this as a daily driver because I'm with you, man. These things look freaking amazing.
They have the same M1 chip that the Apple Silicon chip that they put in the new MacBook Air and the Minis and I guess the new iPads. But they totally like redid the design and they're crazy thin. I
Right?
mean, I
They're
mean,
like iPhone thin, right?
yeah, they're about the same thickness as the original iPhone. I think.
Yeah.
I think the new iPhones are a little thicker. They're so thin that you couldn't actually put a USB A or headphone port on the back
Right.
because the plug would be too thick. So they had to move the headphone jack to the side, make it all USB C and Thunderbolt, which is what Apple does anyway. And I mean, there's no reason for this computer to need to be this thin, but it's Apple, and they're like, "F it, that's what we're gonna do."
Yeah.
And kind of harking back to the like original like iMac G4, that's the Mac
Mm-hmm.
that quote unquote so saved Apple, and when they released all those iMacs with the colors, uh it comes in six gorgeous colors and silver if you hate life and yourself, I guess.
So let me ask you, what if you had to pick one? What do you think?
Okay, so yellow, yellow,
I
hundred
was
percent,
I
hundred
was
percent
thinking yellow.
yellow.
I was thinking yellow. I like orange.
100. Yeah, I yellow and orange are my two favorites, but I think if I was gonna buy one, I would buy yellow. Uh, I don't know, something about it just really pops for me. Mm.
Well, so
They're so good.
they're
I,
really
I,
good.
I wish I needed a computer. I wish I had even the slightest excuse for a new computer because I would totally buy one of these.
Yeah, and it's interesting,
Oh,
right? They sort of do this two-tone color thing where when you're looking at the computer at the front, it looks like there is sort of a white bezel around the screen.
mm-hmm.
And then there is a lighter shade of whatever color you pick.
Like a pastel version. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a pastel version on the front, and then the stand is sort of close to that color, and then the
Yeah.
back and the sides have that deep, rich color that anybody who is near your desk can't help but notice. And
Yeah.
my goodness, they're a showpiece, right? They're
Yeah.
just a
Oh,
showpiece.
I when the original iMac G4s and those colors came out, I coveted them. I was at a point in my life where I was, poor. Not poor, but like I could not afford a frivolous computer.
Right.
Uh, and now I could. I mean, now I could buy one of these, and like, my kids are going to continue to eat, and
Right.
like no one's going to take the house away from me.
Right.
I just don't have any need for these. But man, I wish I had like a family computer or like any reason. I mean, even the keyboard and mouse like match, like
Right.
each one. Yeah, you get like a nice little keyboard with the accent colors, the kind of light pastel. Uh, mm, I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get one, but
I mean,
I
I'm
want
still
one.
rocking my MacBook Pro that I bought 2 years ago, I think. I mean, I'm about due for an upgrade. I mean, mine's kicking along just fine. I've got no complaints about how mine is behaving right now, but I do need to replace it. And I'm extremely tempted to buy one of these. There's still just a few things that I do every day that the M1 chip just isn't there, and containers is a big one. I know Docker just sort of released like what they're
Mm-hmm.
calling M1 support, but it's not really M1 support. So, and the container images you download also have to be ARM
Yeah,
compatible.
that's the thing is until
Yeah.
the ecosystem. I mean, even if Docker can run a container, you're still limited to running, ARM Linux containers, and the base images just aren't there yet. I think yet for that, but
Not
uh,
for the stuff I need.
yeah,
Not for
yeah,
the
but
stuff I need.
it's getting there. I mean, heck, uh, there was that group of people that uh ported a version of Linux so you can boot natively on it.
Yep.
So I mean,
It's getting
it's
there.
getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, and
Uh,
looking at the tech specs of this thing, I mean, it's got a 1080p front FaceTime camera, which is awesome. It's got the whole M1 thing. If I have one complaint about Apple products, and again, I'm an Apple fan, this isn't necessarily meant as a dig. It's just, when will Apple kind of realize that their storage shouldn't start at 256 gigs?
I know.
Like
I know.
that's the
It's
only thing.
mhm.
They should be defaulting to 512 these days, because 256 is just not enough, and you're going to spend $200 to get to 512.
A- And I mean, let's be honest. Let's be a little bit more critical. I mean, the iMac that this replaced, the original like 21.5 inch iMac, like still shipped like with a hard drive
Right.
in a non-retina screen, like a
Yeah.
spinning platter hard drive
Yep.
and a non-retina screen. So I mean, they're getting there, but yeah, I wish the base would be 512 at a minimum. But yeah, what do you
And we need to talk about the power adapter.
yeah, so obviously this it's basically an iPad, a big iPad on a stand. You can kind of think of it like that with the chin. Uh and so there's not a whole lot of room to like plug in anything into the back, let alone any kind of the standard power adapters, like the barrel adapter would be too long. That standard kind of 3-prong thing you plug into a lot of computers would be too big. So Apple did what Apple did, and they over engineered the heck out of it, and they made this new power brick that attaches with magnets onto the back. There's a external power supply that the outside of it that sits on the floor, but it also had that brick also has Ethernet, so you can plug Ethernet into your power supply
Right.
and get magic Ethernet into your iMac, which I think is a really kind of clever solution. Because again, like a standard Ethernet jack would not fit anywhere on this computer. It's too thin.
Yeah.
Can't get it. It's not gonna work.
Can't do it.
Oh,
Can't do it.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, I want to go see one. I do want to go to an
Yeah.
Apple store when they start showing up to actually see one. And
Yes.
there's a better than average chance that I'll go home with one, but I'm trying to save every penny I can right now to buy a new house. But like,
Okay.
I'm so close to buying one of these, because I would like to replace
I know.
my MacBook Pro.
Same. I want one so. I lust after these.
Well,
They're just.
Well, so counterpoint though, because one of
Mhm.
the other things that was announced this week is now there is a new iPad Pro with an M1 chip.
There is. There is.
And boy howdy, if I'm looking for a laptop replacement, this would be close.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 2018 iPad Pro. So it's the iPad Pro that switched to like this industrial design and added Face ID and all that stuff. And that thing is still like I have the 12.9, I have the big boy. It's still rock solid. It's still plenty fast. The only thing I wish it had was I wish I had a cellular model. Just because sometimes it's as I move into middle management, I can do so much of my job. I can do all of my job now from an iPad Pro, and it'd be nice to be able just to throw that in a bag somewhere and go and know that anywhere I could just get onto cellular. But so I'm not. I wish I was in the market for a new iPad Pro. But if I'm a firm believer, like, yeah, they added the M1, the iPad Pro, which upped the default RAM from 6 to 8. If you get a terabyte model, you actually get 16 gigs of RAM in your iPad, which to me just seems absolutely nuts. There is so much power in these iPads. Heck, even the one I have, iPad OS is still the limiting factor from what you can do with it. Like, unless you're editing video or doing Photoshop on there, you're really gonna be in my opinion at least, be hard pressed to push an iPad to its limits. But I mean, it's neat that Apple's just like, yeah, everybody gets an M1. Woo, everything. it's all M1s all the way down, just different enclosures and different, heating characteristics or different cooling characteristics actually. Yeah, they're nice. They're nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an old iPad, and it's so old that I don't technically know which one it is. I know it's I know it's a mini, but I don't know what generation it is.
Oh, yeah.
And that sort of serves as my second screen when I'm streaming. Like, that's what I watch,
Okay.
the Twitch chat with and anything else that I'm doing while I'm streaming, just because it's nice to set that up on my desk. And when I'm using like a website service like Twitch or something, I could just, look at that and it works. So I'm not really in the market for a new iPad. I would love to get an iPad Pro eventually, but again, I don't think this is going to be the thing that necessarily tempts me right away.
Yeah, I love my iPad. I really do. I have all of the accessories. I've got the new Magic Keyboard, the one with the trackpad. I've got the pencil. I use it all the time. It's great. I'm actually at the point now in my life where, like I said, I really could work on an iPad. So I think I may spend a few days next week actually giving it a try and just leaving my Mac asleep all day and working on my iPad. I even bought a little stand for it so I can, get it a little higher off the desk. Yeah, I love my iPad. Love it.
Yeah.
They're good. This upgrade's not enough to make me buy a new one, though I really want a cellular model. But
you can get up to $200 back after activation, because I'm looking at this.
I know. I saw that. I don't have to make a decision until next week, because they don't go on sale until the 30th, April 30th. But you know what goes on sale tomorrow, Drew?
What goes on sale tomorrow, Paul?
AirTags.
Yeah, I want to. This one sort of snuck past me during the announcement. I learned about it sort of after the fact. Tell me why you're excited about this.
I don't know why I'm excited about this. I don't need these at all. But I'm gonna buy some. I'm gonna buy a 4-pack. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy a 4-pack.
What are they going for? I didn't even look at the pricing yet.
A single one is A single one is $29, or you can buy a 4-pack for $99.
Now, are they adhesive?
No, they're not. But lucky for you, they'll sell you a bunch of accessories and oh
boy.
let me find the page and I'll put this in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the keychains. Can you get these customized too? It looks like. Yeah, you can add engraving.
Yeah, so you can get the AirTags themselves engraved. There's mm, I mean, yeah, I don't know what I think I might just like number them so I can like distinguish them
Yeah,
from each other.
that's what I
Yeah.
just did. Like I'm in the custom engraver, and I just added one, two, three,
Hmm.
four.
Yeah. But they'll sell you, hold on, I got to go into accessories, not AirTag to find the AirTag accessories. Uh let's see, shop art. There we Apple's website sometimes can be a little confusing. Uh yeah, but they'll gladly sell you a you know, $30 $35 key ring or $30 loop so you can attach it to your keys or your book bag and then put your little AirTag in there. For those of you who don't know and you're not Apple fanboys, well, one, shame on you. You're banned.
You're banned from the show.
uh, AirTags are basically like tiles.
Yeah.
But the advantage, Tile says, an anti-competitive advantage they have is all all iPhones out there are basically AirTag noticers, right? So if you attach an AirTag to a device and you lose it, essentially any other iOS device will notice it and report the location back to Apple. It's all done encrypted. It's all anonymous. The person doesn't even know what's happening. Like you don't know that your phone detected an AirTag and sent a ping. So there's like what 2 billion iPhones out there, or something ridiculous like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah. Where like the tile depends on other people using tiles to detect your lost thing. So the user base is a lot smaller. So hopefully these things will be actually useful. And I've watched some of the videos. Like the Verge did one where like they literally sent. I feel like they sent this. I think it was in San Francisco. They sent this guy in San Francisco who basically didn't know the city. They took away his phone, took away his watch, gave him an AirTag, and then the other person had to find them in the city.
Okay.
just using the Find My network, and it worked. He found them. He absolutely did. But yeah, so I'm gonna buy a 4-pack. I'm gonna put one with my keys and one with my laptop bag, and the other two probably in a drawer, never to get used.
Well, that's one of the advantages of having a small house. It takes me very little time to scour every inch of it to find anything I might have mislaid.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can make it play a noise. If you've got an iPhone 12 with their fancy U1 chip, it actually does. Like if you're within like 40 feet or something, it actually gives you a nice UI where like your phone will point at it, like point to it. It's like it's like 25 feet to your left. Go this way. And Apple thought about like all the creepy ways that you could use one of these. Have you heard about what it does? Like for privacy and respect?
No.
Okay, so basically Apple doesn't want the ex using it to stalk their ex-wife. Okay.
Yeah.
So if an AirTag has been away from its owner for a certain period of time, but Apple kind of detects that it's following another iOS device. So like it's like, I drop one in your backpack and you didn't know it. After a while, your phone will go, "Hey, just so you know, you have an AirTag with you that's been following you around."
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, someone's being creepy.
Yep. And for those people that don't have iPhones, I think it's a slightly longer period of time. But if it's been away from its owner for like 3 days and it starts to move suddenly, it will play. It'll make noise as to say like, "Hey, there's an AirTag here. Please pay attention."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you want to be like spies? Like you can't use these for that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's a nice touch.
Yeah, it would be really easy to abuse that otherwise, and I think that's probably a good thing to have. So good for them. Good for them. Last thing that was announced. Well, first of all, number one, these go on sale tomorrow. When will you get them?
AirTag. Let's see. What does it say? I have to click on the iPhone thing and then go back to AirTag. View pricing. Here we go. Order. It doesn't say. Mm.
I imagine
I
it'll
th-
be a few weeks.
I think they're supposed to ship by the end of April, but like it's one of those things where
Literally
like
next week, yeah.
yeah, like they may have like some in a
Got it.
warehouse in the States that if you're like one of the first people to buy them, you'll get them next week. But if you order them 30 minutes after they go on sale, you're going to be well into May. But yeah,
Got it.
who
Got it.
knows? I'm going to order a 4-pack and some accessories and
Well, let's get that
Mm.
review on the calendar for when you get them, because I'd be
I've
really
s-
interested to hear what you think.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And then last thing that they announced, and I just thought it was interesting, is you can now buy a purple phone.
Oh, you went with the purple phone. I thought you were going to go somewhere else. Okay.
No, what was I supposed to say?
I was thinking about the new Apple TV. It's got a new remote.
Oh yes, no.
Yes, okay.
I was saving
Okay.
I was saving that for later. No.
Oh, okay, you're saving that for later.
Yeah,
okay.
no. I want to air quote eulogize the Apple remote. But right before we get there, new purple
Yeah,
iPhone. It doesn't look
it's
like you can get a
beautiful.
Pro though.
No, it's just the 12. The pros are in the I think the pros are slightly boring colors. I don't know. Yeah, the iPhone 12 you can get a new purple phone. It's not for me, but I think the color is spectacular. Yeah, it's a purple phone. It looks cool.
Yeah, I like it. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Now we need to talk about what I consider to be the happiest news,
Okay.
and that is there is a new Apple TV 4K that is coming
Mhm.
out. It is
Mhm.
available the second half of May, I believe. And Apple has finally decided that they are going to ditch the old, extremely problematic remote
Mhm.
that was one like giant fondle slab that made scrolling, that made selecting anything, that made when it worked for me, when I wanted to scroll through a show I was watching to try to get to a certain point in a time what's that thing called? Not timeline, but there's a word for
Scrubbing.
it. Yeah, the scrubber.
Yeah.
When I would want to scrub to a particular place in something I was watching, it would work great, but half the time it doesn't. So I, for one, welcome my new Apple TV 4K. If I buy anything on this announcement, it will be this.
Now you can just buy the remote
I
and
know.
use it with your existing Apple TV.
I
mean,
know.
and it's not hyperbole to say I believe the original Apple TV Siri remote to be the worst remote ever made.
Yep.
Ever. Period.
Yep.
If
So
you-
this launches again. You're right. I can buy the new remote. This
Mhm.
remote looks a little chunkier than the last one. It actually
Oh,
has a
it's-
power button, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
that's for turning on and off your TV. Yep, your TV's got a dedicated power button.
Uh-huh. Which
yeah.
I bet you you're thrilled about.
I'm not going to buy this. All my Apple TVs are in the basement. Even with this new remote, I wouldn't use it. You know me or my Logitech Harmony. But I'm just glad that Apple is finally at the point. Like there was this point in Apple where they just kept making blunder after blunder, like the butterfly keyboard and the Siri remote and what else? There's something else I should be mentioning. Shit, I don't remember.
Oh,
Removing ports off of everything.
Yeah.
It's just nice for them to go. Like they didn't admit it, but basically this remote was like, we're sorry. We gave you a symmetrical remote where you couldn't tell which end was up, and surprise, half of it's a touchscreen. So if you pick it up, chances are you're going to be moving stuff and opening apps and messing things around. And
Yep.
actually gave us a remote with like a D-pad, like with a dedicated up, down, left, and right buttons, a big center button that also acts as like kind of a touchscreen. Like it's asymmetrical, so you know which one is on the top. I mean, I think it's a good move. Yeah.
Yeah, now the one thing that scares me a little bit here and I can't tell if this is just a design artifact on this particular uh this particular picture. But when you're looking at the remote, there's like a circular section that is obviously a D-pad. We hope, I think,
It
sure.
is. It is.
But there's also that divot in the middle, which I'm assuming is the enter button. But
It is.
But is that a touchpad?
It is. So
oh no.
Okay. So from what I understand, you actually can still move your thumb like across it to do touchpad things. Which I'm guessing it's recessed. It probably won't be as easy to touch. Hopefully, Apple's getting better at detecting accidental touches. We'll have to see. It's one of those things where I'd kind of wait for a review. But what's also kind of cool, kind of harken back to the old like iPod classics of yore, the ring around that middle button that is the D-pad is also touch sensitive, and you can move your thumb around it in a circle to scrub forward and back on your timeline.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into it. I hope it works, right?
That's going to be, I mean, Apple's track record recently for making remotes is abysmal.
Yep.
So it'd be kind of interesting to see how this goes, whether people like it. I'd have to imagine that I'm guessing by the middle of next week, reviews will start coming out for all this stuff. So
yeah, if all the things they announced, I'm looking at this one kind of the most. I will probably order this just because my remote is. Here's the thing. My remote's actually pretty scummy. Like, it's just that touch surface, for whatever reason, somehow collects more grime than even the glossy part of the remote. I don't know how. Maybe it's because I eat tacos and need to change channels on the TV. I don't know. That's probably what it is. But
dust.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like to replace it anyway. I think I've had to charge that remote once. The battery life on this remote is ridiculous. And I've had this Apple TV now for a year and a half, and I think I've charged the remote once. And I don't even think it's because it was low. It was one day I was like, oh, there's a charging port on the bottom of this, and I think I plugged it in. So
yeah.
So very excited. Pretty cool announcements. I think they're all home runs. I'll be really interested to see kind of how the remote fares out. And I want to hear about your AirTags when you get them and sort of when those get ordered.
Yeah. I'll be on my computer at 8:00 tomorrow, ordering some. So
yeah, very cool. Very cool. Okay. Switching gears for a minute, because I know we probably turned off half the people that listen to us, like six of the 12 people that listen to us.
Because the people that don't care about Apple have been banned.
Forgot about that.
They're gone. They stopped listening. Mm-hmm.
The big news for me this week was I completed all of my yearly certification exams. And I made poor decisions. Okay. So let me back up before I sort of tell you this story, because I put a ton of stress and pressure on myself, and I should not have done it this way. And it is completely my fault. Like, there's nobody to blame in this situation but me. So to back up a second, as part of my job, there are a lot of different, what's the word I'm looking for here? KPIs for how I'm doing in my job. There are tangible KPIs, and then there are sort of the intangible things that are subjective and come through peer review or manager feedback or customer feedback. Okay. It's really easy for me to look at things that I log in various systems to see if I'm trending in the right direction. It's another thing altogether to get feedback from customers on, Drew did a good job with this, or we were able to roll out this feature with, Drew and Microsoft's help to get this thing done. And that's all well and good. But in addition to all of that, there are other requirements for my job. There is a not insignificant amount of internal training that we do. And when we're referring to training, this is not just technical training. There is a lot of privacy training, security training, uh, policy stuff, ethical stuff. Like there's that we have to do, right? And I think most people have to do that. You go online and you do your yearly sexual harassment training, right? Like everybody has those kind of compliance things that you have to do. Now, what are the other things that a person in my role and some other roles at where I work too have to do is we have to pass yearly certification exams. And it's part of a metric that we have that's called technical intensity. So when I started in my job a year ago, we came in, me and the class of new hires that literally came in at the end of fiscal year. So every year there is a requirement based on what organization you're in and what you're working on that you have to pass certain certification exams. Now, last year I got a all up Azure certification. So it really had very little to do with data or data engineering or AI or databases, streaming, like none of that. Okay. It was like all up Azure. And I was really excited for that one because that was what I kind of wanted to do. And I remember that, that particular certification only required one exam. Like previously it was 2 exams, but I lucked out because what Microsoft sometimes does with their certification exams is they will look at a particular certification path and they will say, well, we have, exam 100 and we have exam 101. Let's retire the 2 of those and combine them into one super test, update the question banks, and keep it current. And that's what happened to me last year. I was able to take what was AZ 103, which was Azure administration. And if that sounds like a broad topic, it exceptionally was. My plan was, I think I had been working in my role for like literally a week. And I was like, well, I guess I'll do this because I really don't have anything else to work on because I'm so new. And I remember I scheduled the test. I went to the testing center. I took this completely cold. I didn't really study. I knew there were going to be certain topics that I didn't know a lot of things about when it comes to like some high availability settings for like VMs and stuff like that. And because that gets really confusing because it's just a lot of terminology. And I went to the testing center. I think it was like 50 questions. And you need a score of 800 out of 1,000 to pass. I literally got it 800. Like I barely passed.
Squeaked in.
Yep.
Nice.
And my plan was that if I had failed, I would have known what I needed to go back and study. But right. But everything worked out. It was done. I got it done super early in the year, and then didn't have to worry about it. So last year's work ended, and then the clock reset, and it's like, okay, it's time to think about what certifications you're going to get this year. And this year, I had to schedule 2 exams. Our deadline to get this done is May.
Okay.
And today is the 22nd of April.
Uh-huh.
So mistake number 1 was I got really busy this year and sort of forgot about it.
Okay.
Until I got a friendly email reminder that scans people's stuff for this. It's like, hey, by the way, you have this due. And like, look, here's the thing. Am I going to get let go if I don't get this done? No. Right. But this is the kind of stuff that if you don't do, it's very, very easy to have that hang over your head at review time. Right? Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So there is an expectation. And oh, by the way, they had already pushed back this deadline once. It was supposed to be back in February. But with pandemic stuff and everybody's workload changing, and we had some internal changes to teams and everything, they pushed a bunch of training requirements back. So I'm sure I would have waited till like the end of February to do it if I had to do it in February, just because that's how I operate. So I sort of like took a step back and I thought, oh crap. I'm literally booked solid with meetings for the next couple weeks.
Oh, no.
I need to get this done.
Right.
So literally what I did last week is I started cracking open some websites. Now, I put in the Word document the 2 certifications that I two certification exams that I took, which led to the certification, which is the Azure Data Engineer Associate certification. And the whole goal of this is that this certification is designed to sort of basically attest to the fact that, yes, this person knows how to properly implement all these different data solutions in Azure, given a list of requirements. Okay. And I can't go into specifics on the exam because NDA, all that stuff, but I'll talk a little bit about some of the topics that I had to go in there. But literally last week, I booked these exams back-to-back days. Okay. So I had an exam.
Ambitious. Yep.
I had an exam Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. Okay. Now, I was concerned because when I took the AZ 103 exam, they said up front, this exam, they give you 3 hours for this exam. Well, listen, I looked at that and I scoffed because I'm like, they gave me 3 hours for the SATs and I was done in 50 minutes and I turned out okay. Like I just, I just get it done, right? Like I don't really worry about that. But I'll be honest with you, I barely finished that certification exam in 3 hours because it was that intense. Yeah, because it was the first certification exam I ever did that had labs in it. So there was like case studies and question and answers, and then there was like this whole section where they literally gave you what appeared to be, I don't know how this worked, but it appeared to be like an isolated Azure environment where they gave you a task. It's like, go create this storage account and make sure that this identity has access to it, or make sure these two virtual networks can talk to each other. And it said in the notes like, hey, there's more than one way to do this. It's okay. Just get it done. And they must have had something on the back end that could look at what you did in this like sample little sandbox Azure to see if you did
Must be able to run a test or something. Yeah.
Something, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember that it was extremely intense. And I think I actually left a couple questions blank because I was running out of time. So maybe that affected my score too. But it was intense, right? So for this one, or for both of these, they were going to be around 50 questions each. With no labs. So they gave you 2 hours for each, or they gave you 2.5 hours for each test. And I think I took about an hour and 45 for both. So anyway, here's the twist to this story. Okay. Now, if you're listening to this, I think you might have already seen that I posted on Twitter and LinkedIn that I passed and I'm happy and everything's good. But I was not confident for a couple reasons. One, these two exams have a lot to do with building complete end-to-end solutions in Azure to support data and AI activities. And if you've taken a look at Azure recently, you know that there's a lot of services out there. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And not only do you have to know what those services are, you got to go kind of deep into each one, even at this quote unquote associate level certification. Okay. And there's some services that have only been generally available for like 6 months that were in this certification exam. And I personally have it on my sort of internal bucket list at work to start to explore some of these new products like Azure Synapse and really get up to speed on them and make sure that I can talk to customers effectively about it. But then again, we have a lot of people who are currently doing that, so there's not a huge demand. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so I did a little bit of studying last week, a little bit of studying and cramming Monday night, and I have to take this test. Well, again, because of gestures and everything, and I'm still not vaccinated, grumble, grumble, I took this certification exam remote.
Oh.
Okay.
What does that entail?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So here's the deal. If you've ever taken a certification exam before, typically what you would do,
I have. Yep.
you would schedule it at a testing center, and you go into a room that is proctored. They put you down in front of a computer, and there is software, usually by the company Pearson, that administers the test. So if they now offer, and they have offered this before, this isn't necessarily something new. I've always personally taken these exams out of my home just because I feel like I concentrate better. But what they offer is they give you the ability to take these remote. And what you do is you schedule the exam. And when you schedule it, you say, hey, I want to take this remote. And even if I didn't want to, my testing center is only accepting limiting appointments. And I wasn't able to get one before the deadline. So I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so here's what you do. You schedule the exam, and then you get an email, and it's like, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to download this utility, which runs a system test on your computer, and it just makes sure that you have to have a microphone, you have to have a webcam, you obviously have to have an internet connectivity, and it runs a quick system check to make sure that your system is capable of running the software and you have the necessary components. If you pass, great. Okay, so you run that. And then the day of the exam, you do a check-in. And here's what they have you do. The first thing they have you do is they have you pull out your phone. And they make you go to this website which captures a picture of you. Okay, so you have to take a picture of yourself on your phone, click a button, and it sends that picture up to the testing center. Then they make you scan your ID. Okay, so like you could use a passport, driver's license, state ID, all these different forms of accepted identification. You have to take a picture of a front and back of it. So like again, the app walks you through all this. You take a picture of the front, you flip it over, take a picture of the back. Then you need to take a picture of your testing area, because you can't have two monitors, or you have to disconnect one of them. You can't have headphones. You can't have like other people around. Okay, like it has to be in a enclosed. Has to be in an enclosed environment that no one else is going to disturb you in. And they even tell you, like, even when you're on camera, don't cover your mouth, don't talk out loud, because they don't want you like recording the questions and something that's off camera or something, right? Like there's all these rules. And then they make you take a picture of the front of your work area, behind your work area, and left and right of your work area. And all that information goes up to a proctor, and then you sort of sit in a queue. Okay, so here's what happened. On the first test day, I do all that. So I'm waiting in line, and it says, you're up next. Okay, so I'm ready to go. I'm psyched. I'm like, okay, I want to get this over with. And then a little chat box like pops up on the software. And it's like, and the person on the other end is like, can you hear me? And I have my headphones on. Okay. And I know I just said no headphones, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
But I don't have speakers on my computer. And my monitor that I have now doesn't even have speakers. So I have these headphones on thinking that they're going to like call me and tell me what to do.
Right.
But I said, no, I can't hear you. And he said in the chat, do you have speakers? And I said, no. And he said, okay, take off your headphones and I'm going to call you on the phone. And I was like, uh-oh. And meanwhile, my webcam's on and it sees me, right? So he can see me.
He can see you going, oh no.
Yeah. So my phone rings and it's the proctor, and he's like, listen, you can't have headphones on, and if you don't have speakers, we need to do this part over the phone. I'm like, okay. He's like, I need you to show me your work area again. And I was like, okay. He's like, take your webcam and like pan it around your work area. Because I was taking this exam in my basement. So it's like this little like cubby in my basement.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's like this big open area behind me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he basically, long story short, he thought it was my living room.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, this should be in a closed room. And I'm like, no, I was like, I'm in this cubby hole. I could show you everything around the desk. I had to show him under the desk. I had to do all this stuff. And then he was satisfied. He's like, okay. He's like, now what I want you to do is, he goes, I want you, after we hang up, he goes, I want you to take off your headphones, unplug them from your computer, and put them back like on the other side of your room. Because like he could see the shelves behind me. He's like, put them on the shelf behind you. I was like, okay. So we hung up. I took off my headphones. I unplugged them. I took them and I put them back on the back shelf. And then I started taking then the exam unlocked and I was ready to go. Now, Paul, when you concentrate, what do you do when you concentrate? Like when you're really concentrating on something?
Well, I think you know that I like to chew on things.
Yep. There's that.
All right, so my hands go. My hand. I mean, there's so many things. I lean back in my chair. I may let an expletive or two fly out of my mouth. I do like to chew on things. It's a bad habit. Bite my nails.
Yeah, so I'm a nail biter. Okay. And I also have this thing where like when I'm really studying and reading something, I cover my mouth.
Okay. Yeah.
So like
you know what? Yeah. I do a lot of face touching. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. So I sort of like take my hand and I put it like under my chin and I kind of lean forward and I'm reading it. Well,
Yeah.
halfway through the test, he popped up in chat again. He's like, "Please don't lean forward on the webcam. I need to see your whole face." And I'm like, "Okay," because I was doing that thing where I was like reading something and sort of squinting at the screen and sort of like leaning forward and all that stuff. And uh, yeah, it was like surreal. But then the nice thing about taking the exams at home is when you get done, you sort of know right then and there if you pass or fail. So I passed, everything was good, got through it, no problem. And I think I passed pretty comfortably on the first one. And honestly, of the two exams, I was more worried about DP 200 than DP 201, just based on the subject matter.
Hmm. Okay.
So got through that, and then had to do my entire workday, and then get up early the next day and do the second one. Second one was pretty similar affair. I think I passed that by sort of the skin of my teeth again. I didn't get the minimum score, but I got pretty close. But I did it, and it's done. I am now recertified with these two exams, and I'm thinking about continuing to do some more when I get some more time. There's a few other ones I would like to knock out, but it's one of those things where I'm just so busy. I just won't have time to really dedicate to some of the tougher exams. And these were tough. Like, don't get me wrong, these were tough. And again, I can't really talk about the exams themselves, but the experience was really interesting. I wasn't really sure how the whole remote testing was going to go, but I mean, they made it work. So, yeah, that's that.
Now, I remember way back in the day when I used to be Paul Baylor, and I was an overpriced consultant who traveled. The company I worked for at the time was owned 50% by the company you work for now. And we had very similar, very stringent training requirements. Not only do we have to submit so many billable hours, but we had to submit so many hours of training, whether that was like company provided training on technologies or some other stuff like that, or taking, and we had to get past so many exams per year. And it's one of the same things, like, you're not going to get fired, but nor are you going to get promoted if you don't do this stuff. Like, this is the minimum stuff you have to do to be considered for a promotion. And it was really good. Like, they paid for the exams, they paid for all the training material. And I remember back in the day that the general rule of thumb was to get ready for an exam. You get the practice test, you take the practice test, you do horrible on the practice test, you feel really bad about yourself, you go take the real test, and it's much easier, and you pass. Is that the same kind of, like, what kind of workflow did you do to get used, or do you just like, hey, I do this for my job, I know all this stuff, I don't need to like take a practice exam? Or
Well, so again, for me, I didn't have the luxury of saying, I'm going to take this, and if I fail, I'll know what I need to study and go retake. Like, this was a make or break.
Right.
I need to get this done, or I need to have a tough conversation with my boss about why I didn't get this done. And again, I think, it's tough to say. Again, I don't want to say it would have went good, it would have went bad, but it's my fault for letting it go for as long as it did. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I was really bad about managing my time around this, just because I have thoughts on certification. We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Okay.
I think experience trumps everything personally, but hey, this is a
I
requirement.
agree. Yep.
This is a good way to sort of get exposed to some of the deeper level knowledge, things that you need to know for these technologies. So I totally get it. I'm not against it. It's just it requires a lot of study. Okay. And I put in actual time studying this. Now, here's the cool thing. If you haven't done this recently, and I'll put the links to these things in the show notes, Microsoft offers free online training for all these exams.
Oh, nice.
So, like, if you go to one of the links and you scroll down, it says there's two ways to prepare. You could do online free or instructor led. If you do online free, there's these things called learning paths. And each one of these learning paths kind of bubbles up to a central theme. Like, for instance, if you look at the path for the Azure certified data, actually that's a bad one. Let me put a different link in here. No, I take all that back. If you look at the DP200 link and you scroll down and you look at the learning path, if you click on the one that says storing data in Azure, and you click on that, that will take you to basically a series of online free modules that give you the overview, that also walk you through doing it. Some of these are interactive, and you can sort of step through the concepts that sort of explain the things that are going to be on the exam. I did those. I basically carved out time to work through those to prepare.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say that if you do those, you got a better than average shot of passing these things, because the question banks that are created come for these, okay? And, listen, if you've taken a Microsoft certification exam before, the whole thing is just read the questions carefully. Process of elimination will get you pretty close to all of this stuff. I'm not giving you anything you probably don't already know if you've never taken one of these things. But I will say that when it gets to these tougher exams, a lot of the questions and a lot of the answers look alike. So you have to be extremely careful when you're taking these things, because they will try to trip you up a little bit. But yeah, I just did these learning paths to sort of prepare.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, so
I have taken some of these, not for certification, but there's been other things that I wanted to learn in the Microsoft stack. And like their training has really like gotten way just incredibly better recently. It's been truly, there's lots of good stuff out there. And I think, what is it? Don't they have like a learn.microsoft.com where like all the stuff is like all of their training is
exactly. Exactly.
Yep. So there's lots of good stuff there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got a cool little badge that I got to put on my LinkedIn profile. Haha, wee, and I put that on there and everything. And
yeah,
it's all good, man. So it's one of those things that I'm really relieved that I got it done. I'm mad at myself that I made it such a last minute priority thing. But I got through it, and I'm happy. And
congratulations.
I'm sure I'll do the same thing next year whenever we figure out whatever the certifications are for next year.
Yep.
So, and you know what? I'll be honest. It's a good experience to go through, because like I said, there are definitely things that I don't get to learn or work with customers on today just because of mostly opportunity. I mean, there are customers that use every single one of our products. It's just that if you don't get to work with those customers, then you're not going to get exposed to some of this stuff. So getting deep in the weeds on things like Stream Analytics and Synapse and some of these other things that I don't work with as much has been really good. So anyway, Long story short, got all that done. It was a pretty unique experience taking those exams at home. And if you're out there and you have questions about any of this certification stuff, let me know. I mean, obviously you can't ask me what the questions are, but I'll be happy to help you get access to any training you need. So
cool.
Or if you need help studying.
Awesome.
If you're one of our 6 listeners.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done. I mean, I'm so wiped out. I don't have much more to add.
Yep.
Other than we're going to play some D&D tomorrow.
Yeah, we are. As always, this has been, I'm sure they're doing their best. You can find us on the internet at doingtheirbest.com, on Twitter at doingbestpod. You can reach me on Twitter at Paul Baylor. Where can we find you, Drew?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Pittfurg, Pittfurg.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
See ya.